We're now well on our way with our customized API platform implementation, and we're following along with the same Behat test suite that we used for our standalone Symfony 4 JSON API and also our Symfony 4 with FOSRESTBundle implementation. So far things are looking pretty good and with quite a lot less effort on our part. Now previously we covered the get operation for a single album, for example /album/3. Now we want to be able to get back a list of all the album resources in our system. This would be a collection operation. In API platform, both get operations are mandatory. So we had to define a custom collection operation in order to get our post test to pass, and because the get collection operation is mandatory, we had to define that too. As you can see on screen at the moment, this is our annotations so far. And again, we already have a predefined Behat test for this. However, at this point, we do hit on a problem with our generic Behat test setup. The error output here is kind of hard to see on a tiny screen size like what I use for recording. It's probably a little bit easier to see on your day-to-day desktop setup. But basically, the entire thing is wrong. And if it's not immediately obvious from the test output, which if you're struggling to read, by the way, is available in the show notes, then it might be a little bit easier to see if we send in the same request using Postman. So basically, everything is wrapped in this Hydra stuff. And now, interestingly, we can get a pass, but we need to do a little bit of cheating. If we change the requested endpoint from /album to /album.json and then rerun our test, we get a pass. Kinda easy, right? Well, we did have to change our test, and that's going to have broken this test for the other implementations. Now also, raw JSON isn't technically officially supported by the API platform, so that's also something to be aware of, but it does kind of roughly work, so that's quite nice. Now, other than updating the previous implementations to use JSON LD, I don't actually see how we can keep one test here. So unfortunately, I'm going to suggest that we diverge and implement a custom test. Now, I know this is not ideal, but I can't really see another alternative. So I'm going to create a new file in the Behat project, which I'm just going to call album_JSON LD feature. I'm going to define a very similar test here, but I'm going to use the expected JSON LD output with all that Hydra information instead of the more basic setup that we were using before. So of course, when we run this, we should expect a pass. So did we cheat? Well, it sort of feels like we did. Now I'm open to an alternative testing process where we can keep everything in one file, but I really don't see a way to do this at the moment. Now I've intentionally called the file album_JSON LD feature rather than album_API platform feature or something. We are just testing JSON LD generally. Our other implementations could technically be adapted to support this format. Anyway, that's both get one and get many and post covered. So let's move on to updating via put.